call it a huge twist for this Simon Ekpa's, court judgment that came out the other day. There is a breaking news, and I want you to come in and listen very carefully. Because from today, I will advise people who are talking about this case to tone it down a little bit. Understand? Because there are a lot of things that have not yet been unraveled as concerns Simon Ekpa's case. And you will ask me, what is it? What is it? Listen, let me tell you. After every court judgment, there is also a release of the judgment document itself from the court. After every court judgment, the judge and the jury normally release a court judgment document, a paper that details the judgment in writing and how the judge came about the judgment, and even about the sentencing, on which particular counts the sentencing was given, on which counts. For example, Simon Ekpa was sentenced on 3 counts: terrorism, tax evasion, and impersonation. Now, in that court judgment, you are going to see of which counts of the 3 the court either strike off or acquit him of, and which one actually is the one that he is actually going to prison for. Whether it is the 3 of them, whether it is the 2 of them, or whether it is just one of them. And also, in that 3, how many years is he giving for each count, for each case that he is facing? For terrorism, how many years did the court give? For impersonation, how many years in that 6 years did the court give? And also, for tax evasion, how many years is the court giving for that? And also, apart from that, in that judgment, written judgment, you are going to see the mindsets of the court, how the court arrived at their judgments. Yes, how did the court arrive at their judgment? The judges write it there, explaining how the judge got to his judgment and why indeed they had to give Ekpa such a treatment, and of which of the charges is he actually suffering for, or is there any one they actually struck off. That is exactly what a court judgment document entails. And let me tell you, up till now, Finland has not yet released that court judgment. So it is very important that as you are making video, as you are making audio, as you are writing whatever you are writing on social media, know very well that Finland is yet to release the official court judgment for Mazi Simon Ekpa. And until they do that, most of the things you might be saying may not actually be in line with Finland court itself. So it's very important that we calm down a little bit about this Simon Ekpa's case, because you never can tell which is the key case he is going to prison for. It's very important. It's very important that we know. It is very important that we know that Simon Ekpa's, family, that Simon Ekpa's friends, that Simon Ekpa's followers, and the entire group he represents knows of how the breakdown itself of this judgment. Till now, all we know is that he's going to prison for so and so case. That is not how judgment works. Even in Nigeria here, every judgment that is given always has, a court document that is released specifying. Most times it runs into pages that you can read to know the judge's mindset and how he came about that judgment, and in fact, what case you are actually going to prison for. Because you may be accused of 7 or 10 cases. It doesn't mean, at the end of the day, even if you're going to prison, it doesn't mean that it's that 7 accusations that you may be going for. And it is done everywhere around the world. That is standard court practice. And in the case of Simon Ekpa, that has not yet been done. And that is why I say it is a huge twist. Because many people might be surprised or shocked when they find out the real reason, what that 6 years he's going to prison for actually is for. When it comes out, people will be shocked. Don't be surprised to know the chief, the problem he's facing might not even be terrorism. Might not even be that. So don't be surprised. And that is the reason why I'm coming out to say this is a breaking news. And this is a huge twist. So whatever is making videos out there, whoever are those people who are, dragging this whole case on their head, some are clapping their hands. You do not understand the dynamics of Finland court and Finland judicial system. That is how it works. Okay, I took it a bit further to find out how Finland works when it comes to the justice system and, of course, court documents released after a court case. And you will be surprised at what I found out. I'll read this for you. Listen. In Finland, district court decisions are generally not automatically published online, especially in full. Written judgments typically remain confidential unless formally requested or made public through an appeal or other official channels. Media reports are currently based on summaries from press releases or court statements, not on the full judicial document itself. Are you saying it? Are you saying it? Now, what can you do to access these documents? Listen, you can file a formal request in Finland. You may contact the Päijät-Häme District Court or the Finland Judicial Publication Office and request a copy of the written judgment. There might be a small administrative fee or conditions given privacy and legal protocols. So you see, in Finland, actually, releasing the documents, the court judgments, is not automatic like in Nigeria, where you can just, the court releases the documents. You actually have to make a request for the court documents. The court does not automatically just release judgment for you. So I'm advising those people in charge, the group represents the USB or the BRG that based in Finland or abroad, to make that request now for the court's judgment itself, not these summaries, like you heard it right now. I said, this thing that you see on the press is a summary of what happened in court. Or what people are using to do video now, talking about social media everywhere, is just a summary of what happened in Finland, not the court case itself, not the judgment proper. The judgment proper is not released until you make a request. That is when you now see step by step what actually is entail for this judgment that Ekpa just received. And that is going to be for a better judgment for everybody than to jump into conclusion and look at why he's going to prison and look at what he's going to face and whatever. Somebody is going to prison for 3 count charges, 6 years. People should know how the court divided it. Which one is more chief among the rest? Which one carries more weight in the rest? Which one did the court strike out? Which one did the court leave? It's very important. Which one, why did the court even arrive at the judgment? Which evidence did they provide that showed, that was convincing enough to the court for people to believe that he did these things he did? That will be contained in the judgment itself. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So share this video around. Share this video around for those in charge to know that the battle is not yet over until they see that this judgment was transparent as possible, and actually he is actually being judged, and the documents and the details of what he's going to present are made clear for everybody to see, and the reasons why the judge gave the judgment. Do you understand? Very simple. Very, very simple and clear. There is nothing to hide in all these things. Judge case, court case is an open thing anywhere in the world. But up till now, there's not some documents. And Finland are not going to release documents for anybody until you make a request for it. Yes, they will not. So now is the time. I'm calling upon all those in charge, the executive bodies, to start filing, marching down to Päijät-Häme District Court in Finland now to formally request for the document of this court case, the judgment document itself, the release, the judgment, the file. Let them print it for you. It might come in pages, maybe volumes if possible. 10, 15, 20, 30 pages. You will see everything in that document. Then you will study it. It's when you study that document, you can now decide if you're going to make an appeal or not. And you make it, publish it for people to see, to know what is in the judgment. It's not a secret court. No, it's a secret court. No. Then you can now tell people, people will now know what actually Ekpa's crime is. Actually what he is facing. Not to jumble it and say he is facing this 3 and 3 count charge. Then you carry 6 years and give people will now come to social media and start saying he's going to prison for 6 years for this and this. The 3 of them carry the same weight. Did the 3 cases carry the same weight? Let's reason well and get this thing done. Start marching to Finland court to print out, to ask for the documents, let them print it out for you, and let us see what Simon Ekpa is actually, how his court case went, and how the judge actually, arrived at his judgment.
Association actually says that the conviction of Simon Ekpa within 1 year exposes the underbellies of Nigeria's criminal justice system, even comparing it with the prolonged and protracted case of Nnamdi Kanu here in Nigeria. Your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Ngozi and Adesua. We forget here that, like they say, that justice delay is justice denied, because we always say the windmill of justice grinds slowly but surely. You can't place these twin principles together and not expect a confusion, because when you say windmill of justice grinding slowly but surely, and then you forget that justice delayed is justice denied. Also, under the criminal justice system in this other jurisdiction that you talk about, prosecution actually starts from investigation. And that's why after investigation, they actually conclude investigation before even arresting you. And so once you are confronted with the proof of evidence, it's either you admit the culpability and spare the government the challenges of having to go through the rigors of long trials. And then also another thing that is very instructive in this jurisdiction are the lawyers. In those jurisdictions, when a lawyer also is handling a matter, the Bar Association also will monitor the way that lawyer handles that matter. And lawyers can be recommended for disciplinary measures once you unnecessarily delay the course of justice, especially when the evidence is overwhelming. But what happens here, the difference here is that before you are arrested, there is no evidence, there is no investigation before you are arrested. You are arrested here, and then it is after your arrest that the police and then the investigating agencies will now begin to source for evidence, gather evidence, and then political interference. I can also say here that EFCC in some cases will do theirs differently. They would have concluded arrest investigation before inviting you. But because of also a lot of political interference and all of those sentiment and talk, then coupled with unnecessary applications, either from prosecution or from defense counsel, and then also the attitude of government to some of these cases, we find out that the course of justice is unnecessarily delayed. Nobody is punished, nobody is sanctioned. Unlike what we've seen in Finland, they've concluded their investigation even before arresting Simon Ekpa, and the moment he's arrested, he's confronted and charged to court. And the matter, in less than a month, they are done with prosecution. And the defense counsel, knowing fully well, it's not for you to come lie to the courts. It is for the prosecution to establish a prima facie case. And once a prima facie case is established, it is not for you to lie to the court or file unnecessary application, because once you do that, certainly the Bar Association is going to come against you. We saw what happens in the prosecution of some high-profile cases, Nigerians in London. Even their lawyers were also prosecuted and sentenced to jail. But here, what happens? Because there are no consequences for these delays. That is why we'll continue to see, we'll continue to excuse away, our slow justice system, saying justice, the windmill of justice grinds slowly but surely. It's unfortunate. Well,
that's a lot, to chew on, Liberals. I must tell you how we walk from the back forward. The delay that you speak about, justice being denied. But let me ask you, Ekpa was tried and convicted in Europe for actions that had serious impact here in Nigeria. Legally speaking, could Nigeria have requested his repatriation? Or is this conviction abroad effectively justice done? Is that the end of this? And what do you say to those people who say, yes, justice, but lenient, 6 years for the crime? I mean, the carnage he has left.
What Simon Ekpa was charged with and what Nnamdi Kanu is facing here. The offenses are similar. Nnamdi Kanu, Radio Biafra, Simon Ekpa, using the same channel. And then, so here, if Simon Ekpa had been extradited here, and then would have seen a repeat of the Nnamdi Kanu's slow-paced trial, politics, dilly-dallying, and all sorts, a change of defense counsels, amendment of charges, judges recusing themselves. And I can tell you, for the next 6 years would be on the matter. But in Finland, they've looked at their laws and what is the penalty for the offenses he has committed. Mind you, he wasn't the only person that was arrested. Some other persons were also arrested with him. But because they couldn't really establish, they couldn't link those people with the alleged offenses, they were allowed to go. But here, it would have been a different case. So no matter, even if the man is jailed for 1 year, the fact remains that justice had been served in those society. The man, for example, in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, that man has been in incarceration, and if at the end of the day, you find him guilty and say, okay, he's convicted for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but meanwhile, the case dragged on for 10 years or for 7 years. At the end of the day, would you say truly that justice had been served? Because justice is a two-way traffic and not a one-way traffic. So that's why I'm not looking at the years. I'm looking at the fact that justice had been served. And in this case, it was served timelessly. No delays. And those are the things we should be looking at. If probably the Buhari administration had taken, this route that the Tinubu administration took with the Finnish government, maybe we would have been, Nnamdi Kanu's case would have been concluded in other jurisdiction. But no, the way and manner he was even arrested, first and foremost, we had to deal with that. And then you now begin to talk about, apart from the trial, and then sentiment comes in, because the moment the delays associated with the trial will certainly bring sentiment. But also, considering the fact that, justice in Nigeria is selective. Mind you, Simon Ekpa in Finland is a politician. So imagine a politician in Nigeria, no matter how small, having to face this kind of charges. We've seen where governors' aides are arrested with guns. What became of such cases? Yeah. So those are the kind of questions we should be asking ourselves. I'm not talking about the number of years that it is little. The fact that in this jurisdiction, we've seen offenses such as this, politicians would arm thugs, and at the end of the day, these people are arrested, and you never hear anything about this case. Yeah. But today, in faraway Finland, just as the same way we've had judgment for Nigeria, in favor of Nigerians in faraway England, was seen justice being served. Those are the things that we should be talking about. And how do we replicate such, a quick dispensation of justice in our climes here?
I guess that's the fundamental question. And your thoughts too, because there are indications, we're getting hints from the federal government that it may seek extradition, or repatriation after, what's his name? Simon Ekpa serves his 6-year term in Finland. I mean, what purpose would this really serve? Would it not amount to double jeopardy? Does it mean that government wants him to, again, pay for his sins against Nigeria, especially the Southeast? And speaking of the Southeast, what do you think this conviction means for the Southeast?
Yeah, two things. Your question is hydra-headed, but I will attempt the first one first. Yes, Nigeria has a right to request for his extradition after serving his jail term. But the first thing first for me is the fact that the man has been convicted in faraway Finland. And 6 years is still, a long time from now. Maybe if this government will still be in office, or maybe another government would come, and this would not necessarily be their headache, or that, we can't keep a lot of things in the front burner here, and we're very religious people. We easily forgive and forget. Maybe at that time, the Southeast would have been very peaceful, and all of these issues would be forgotten. Or maybe somebody from the Southeast would be the president, and then, there will be appeal from, brethren and, all of that. But then, coming to what this means for Southeast, I think it's a pointer to the fact that no matter how far away you are from, you know, the scene of the crime. If you orchestrate people, if your actions, you know, induce people to commit crime, certainly someday you are going to go for it. And then also, I think that this can also form a